For over a decade, we've been invited into the complex, often chaotic world of the Brown family from TLC's Sister Wives. We've witnessed marriages form, children grow, and in recent years, a sprawling polygamous family structure fracture in real time. At the center of this unraveling has been Kody Brown, the patriarch, the husband to 4 wives, the self-proclaimed leader of his plural marriage experiment. And for years, the narrative, while messy, was largely under his control. But the exodus of 3 of his 4 wives, Christine, Janelle, and later Mary, has not just been a storyline. It's been a seismic shift in power, perspective, and public perception. And now, we are witnessing what may be the final, definitive collapse of Kody Brown's narrative control. Recently, in what was framed as an attempt at closure or perhaps public reconciliation, Kody issued a series of apologies. Not in private, but in the glare of the media, speaking to outlets about his regrets, his failures, and his desire for amends. But instead of quenching the public's thirst for accountability, it has poured gasoline on a fire that has been smoldering for years. Why? Because for the first time, these apologies were met not with silent acceptance or cautious optimism from his ex-wives, but with a powerful, unified, and devastating rebuttal. And most significantly, they have prompted a voice we have never truly heard from to step definitively into the light, David Woolley, Christine's new husband. Today, we are doing a deep, comprehensive, and detailed analysis of exactly how Kody's apology backfired so spectacularly. We will dissect the apologies word by word, explore the reactions from Janelle, Mary, and Christine, and most importantly, we will break down David Woolley's first public, substantive comments on the matter, comments that have fundamentally changed the landscape of this entire saga. This is not just about gossip. It's a case study in narcissistic collapse, the reclamation of personal narrative, and what happens when the quiet supporter in the background decides he will no longer be silent. To understand the backlash, we must first understand the trigger. Let's break down Kody Brown's apology tour. He didn't sit down for one interview. He gave several, creating a mosaic of mea culpas. The tone was somber, the delivery often halting. He spoke of ownership and failures. On the surface, it seemed like progress. But a closer examination reveals the fissures. First, the framing. Kody consistently framed his failures as strategic or leadership failures. He said things like, "I failed as a leader of the family," or "My vision for the family was flawed." This is critical. He is apologizing not for emotional abuse, not for neglect, not for favoritism, but for poor management. It's the apology of a CEO whose company went bankrupt, not a husband whose wives felt unloved and abandoned. He reduced profound emotional wounds to logistical and spiritual errors in his plural marriage plan. Second, the victim narrative. Woven throughout was a subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, thread of self-pity. "I've lost so much, I'm living with the consequences, my family is gone." This reframes him as a fellow casualty of the fallout, rather than the primary architect. It invites sympathy for his losses, potentially eclipsing the pain he caused. It's a classic technique, the perpetrator seeking comfort while attempting to apologize. Third, the specificity or lack thereof. The apologies were grand, sweeping statements. "I'm sorry for my failures." But what failures? He rarely named them. He didn't say, "I'm sorry I told Christine I wasn't attracted to her and made her feel unwanted for years." He didn't say, "I'm sorry I abandoned Janelle and her children during a pandemic while prioritizing Robyn's household." He didn't say, "I'm sorry I strung Mary along for a decade with no intimacy or affection, using her for financial and emotional support while giving her nothing in return." Without specificity, an apology is a ghost. It has no substance, no weight, and it cannot heal because it doesn't prove the apologizer understands the injury. Fourth, and perhaps most damningly, the conditional language. Phrases like, "if I made them feel that way," or "I'm sorry for whatever part one played," are the death knell of a genuine apology. They are loopholes. They introduce doubt about the validity of the other person's feelings and distance the speaker from full responsibility. It's not, I did this and it was wrong. It's, I'm sorry, your perception is that I did something wrong. This is where Kody's apology began to unravel in the public eye. Viewers, especially longtime watchers who have seen the receipts in the form of 18 seasons of footage, recognized this language immediately. It was not accountability. It was performance. The reaction from the former Mrs. Browns was swift, public, and unified in its dismissal. This was not a coordinated attack, but rather a symphony of independence, each playing her own note of disengagement. Janelle Brown, always the pragmatic, logical one, responded with what can only be described as serene indifference. On her social media and in brief comments, she essentially said, "His journey is his own. I'm focused on my peace and my future." She didn't engage with the content of the apology. She didn't debate its merits. She simply turned the page. For Janelle, who has expressed deep hurt over Kody's treatment of her sons, this was the ultimate power move. It communicated that Kody and his reflections no longer occupy space in her emotional or mental world. His apology was irrelevant to her moving forward. The message was clear. You cannot manage or manipulate a narrative I have exited. Mary Brown's response was slightly more pointed but equally final. She acknowledged seeing the interviews and offered a cryptic but telling statement. Sometimes an apology, especially a public one, says more about the person giving it than the people receiving it. I've made my peace with my past, and I'm choosing to look ahead. This is a masterclass in subtext. Mary is implying that Kody's apology is a self-serving act, more about rehabilitating his own image than genuinely addressing her pain. After years of being Kody's loyal doormat, her calm dismissal is a stunning reversal. She is no longer waiting for his crumbs of attention. She is refusing the entire meal he's serving. But the most significant reaction came from Kody Brown. Her response was a blend of Janelle's indifference and something new, public vindication. She posted a simple, sun-drenched photo of herself with David, laughing, with a caption about happiness, freedom, and being loved, fully and completely. She didn't mention Kody by name. She didn't have to. The contrast was the entire statement. While Kody was in a dim studio talking about loss and regret, Kody was in the sunlight, showing the world what genuine joy looks like. Her response was living proof that his apologies were too little, too late. She had not just moved on, she had upgraded her entire life. And by showcasing her healthy, adoring marriage, she provided a visceral, unarguable benchmark against which Kody's failures were measured. Her happiness was the rebuttal. This is where the story explodes. David Woolley has, until now, been the picture of a supportive, quiet partner. He has appeared on the show, been affectionate and present with Kody and her children, but has largely stayed out of the fray. He is not engaged in public mudslinging. This made his decision to speak out now so electrifying and consequential. David gave an interview, not a reality TV confessional, but a sit-down with a reputable magazine. It was respectful, measured, but carried the quiet force of a man who is no longer willing to watch from the sidelines. His comments can be broken down into 3 devastating pillars. Pillar 1, the defense of Kody. David directly addressed the years of emotional hardship Kody endured. He said, "When you love someone, you learn their history. You see the scars. And it becomes impossible to listen to revisionist history or half-truths that diminish what they went through." He didn't call Kody names. Instead, he bore witness. He validated Kody's entire experience simply by stating he had seen its impact. He spoke of her strength in leaving, calling it the bravest thing I've ever witnessed. This reframed Kody not as a disgruntled ex-wife, but as a survivor. And by positioning himself as her witness and protector, he fundamentally altered the power dynamic. Kody was no longer just dealing with an ex. He was dealing with her husband, a man whose primary role is now to safeguard her peace. Pillar 2, the reality check on the family. Kody often speaks in grand, abstract terms about the family as a spiritual entity he led. David, a newcomer with fresh eyes, dismantled this. He said, "From what I've seen and what Kody has shared, a family isn't a concept you lead. It's people you show up for daily. It's putting your kids to bed, making your wife feel cherished, being present in the small moments. If that's not happening, it's not a family. It's an idea that's failing the people in it. This is a profound critique. It stripped away Kody's spiritual and patriarchal jargon and reduced it to a simple, undeniable metric. Were you there? David, by all accounts, is there. He cooks for the kids, plans dates with Christine, attends school events. His testimony is one of action, not ideology, and it makes Kody's leadership apologies look hollow and performative. Pillar 3. The line in the sand. This was the most direct and game-changing part. David stated, "Christine has moved on to a life of happiness and respect. I feel it is my responsibility to ensure that life is protected. That means not entertaining narratives that are designed to rewrite the past or guilt-trip her into a dialogue she has no interest in. Our door is closed to drama, and it's closed to anyone who doesn't respect the peace we've built." Read between the lines. He is saying Kody's public apology tour is itself a form of drama and an attempt to rewrite the past. He is declaring that he, as Christine's partner, will act as a boundary. Kody is not just an ex. He is now an external entity whose access to Christine is permanently mediated and likely terminated by her new husband's protective stance. For a man like Kody, whose identity is built on control and being the central figure, this is an inconceivable loss of influence. So why did this all backfire so spectacularly for Kody? We must understand the psychology at play. Kody's entire persona, especially in later seasons, aligns with traits of narcissistic personality, a grandiose sense of self, a need for admiration, a lack of empathy, and a perception of oneself as the irreplaceable leader. His apology was likely predicated on several assumptions. That the ex-wives were still emotionally invested enough to care. That the public was still on the fence and needed him to take responsibility to win them back. That he could control the narrative one last time by defining the terms of the failure and the reconciliation. The reactions shattered every single one of these assumptions. First, the indifference as the ultimate weapon. Janelle and Mary's dismissive responses were a form of gray rocking. They refused to supply the emotional reaction, the drama, the engagement he may have been seeking. For a narcissist, indifference is more painful than hatred. Hate you are still central to their emotional world. Indifference says you are irrelevant. Second, Christine's happiness as the unanswerable rebuttal. Christine's visible, tangible joy with David is something Kody can never argue against, never explain away. His entire premise with Christine was that she was difficult, that she didn't try hard enough, that the failure was mutual. David's presence and her radiant happiness prove, conclusively, that the problem was not Christine's capacity to be a good wife. It was Kody's capacity to be a good husband to her. This is a narcissistic injury of the highest order, being shown to be replaceable and being replaced by someone who is excelling where you failed. Third, David's intervention as a transfer of authority. This is the nuclear option. In Kody's worldview, he was the patriarch, the ultimate male authority in the family structure. David, by speaking not as a gossiper but as a protector, has usurped that role for Christine and her children. He has become the healthy, present male authority figure. By calmly and firmly setting a boundary, David did what Kody's wives never fully could. He placed Kody outside the circle. He framed Kody not as a former head of household, but as a potential source of disturbance to be managed. This complete inversion of the power hierarchy, from leader to dismissed outsider, is likely what backfired badly truly means. The apology wasn't met with forgiveness or renewed connection. It was met with a fortified fortress he can no longer breach. This saga is bigger than one family. Sister Wives began as a show about the challenges and triumphs of an alternative family choosing love and faith against societal odds. It is ending, or at least entering its final act, as a show about the collapse of patriarchal control and the empowerment of women and one good man to leave untenable situations and seek real happiness. Kody's failed apology and David's response mark the definitive end of the original premise. The show is no longer about making plural marriage work. It is about the aftermath. It's about what happens when the women you marginalized find their voices and their footing. It's about what happens when the outsider you dismissed becomes the hero of the story. David Woolley Speaking Out is a watershed moment because he represents the mainstream, monogamous world looking in and passing judgment, a judgment based not on polygamous doctrine, but on universal principles of love, respect, and emotional safety. His simple, action-based definition of family is one that resonates with the vast majority of the audience. In siding so clearly and respectfully with Christine, he has validated the audience's years of frustration and concern. He has given a voice to the viewers who spent seasons screaming at their TVs. Can't you see how he's treating you? Kody Brown's apology backfired because it was, at its core, an attempt to regain control in a situation where he has lost all control. He could not stomach the finality of his ex-wife's happiness and indifference. He could not abide being rendered irrelevant. So he launched a Hail Mary of public contrition, hoping to reopen channels of communication, to reinsert himself into their narratives, and to salvage a shred of his public image as a complex leader, not a flawed man who drove his family away. What he received was a masterclass in closure. From Janelle, serene disregard. From Mary, polite dismissal. From Christine, radiant, living proof that his best is now far behind her. And from David Woolley, a calm, firm, and immovable boundary, backed by the authority of a real, functioning love. The message is now unequivocal. The story of Kody Brown and his first 3 wives is over. The apologies are too late. The explanations are insufficient. The door is closed, locked, and guarded by the very happiness he failed to provide. In trying to say, "I'm sorry," Kody inadvertently prompted the final, definitive statement of his own obsolescence. The family has moved on, and they have left him and his apologies in the dust of the past. This is the sound of a narrative ending not with a bang, but with the quiet, confident click of a door closing and a new, happier chapter beginning on the other side. Sister Wives star Robyn admits she has difficulty imagining a reunion with one of Kody's former partners. Sister Wives star Robyn admits she struggles to articulate her feelings when asked about the possibility of reuniting with one of Kody's exes. What Sister Wives star Kody Brown's kids have said about their feud. Gabriel Brown. For Gabriel Brown, it was far too late for Dad Kody Brown to say sorry. Initially at odds over Kody's intense COVID restrictions, they continued to keep their distance even as stay-home orders began to lift. Kody's issue, recounted Janelle Brown, who shares sons Logan Brown, Hunter Brown, Garrison Brown, and Gabriel, as well as daughters Madison Brush and Savannah Brown, with the patriarch, was that he felt his kids hadn't been loyal to him and his rules. He kept phrasing it like I owed him an apology, Gabriel detailed to Janelle in an October 2024 episode of Sister Wives. Eventually I was just like, hey, unless you're actually ready to have a relationship and fix things, then we're not going to talk anymore. He came back a couple of days later and texted me. He's like, hey, I've been thinking about what you've been saying. I forgive you. Please forgive me. I was like, forgive me for what? So tight with his dad, he used to accompany him on business trips. He remains confused about what he did. But he noted to Janelle, I told Dad that if he doesn't change and he can't take accountability, then I just won't ever see him again. And I'm perfectly okay with that. Isabel Brown. Kody may have meant for his love to be multiplied, but his time with his 18 kids has definitely been divided. Which is why Isabel Brown feared that when David Woolley married mom Christine Brown in 2023, he might fully take over the role her father once played in her life. I worry, a tearful Isabel shared in a confessional on a November 2024 episode, that my dad and the chance of having a really close relationship with my dad is slowly going away. Not that she didn't appreciate David as a stepdad. He comes off as a very present dad with his children, so I mean, how lovely would that be, right? She noted. So I would love to have a relationship that is as amazing with my own father. And she's still holding out hope, admitting in a November 2025 episode, my dad and I aren't close. Still, why she thought of Christine as both mom and dad, she wouldn't call her relationship with Kody, who refused to fly cross-country when she had back surgery mid-pandemic, non-existent. I mean, he's still my dad, she insisted, and I love him. Kody Brown. If Kody had his way, Kody Brown, one of Christine's 6 kids, wouldn't say much of anything about him. Speaking with YouTuber John Yates in January 2023, Kody recalled receiving an out-of-the-blue phone call from his dad. It's like an hour-long conversation, and it goes really, really well, he recounted. And I'm like, okay, I might be getting my father back. This is wonderful. Then he called his mom. Talking to Christine, also mom to Aspen Thompson, Michael T. Padrone, Gwendolyn Caraz, Isabel and Truly Brown, Kody learned that Kody had been working to convince producers not to let his children trash him, trying to put it in our contracts that we are not allowed to say anything negative about him on our platforms. But it was a deal he couldn't close. My mom was like, no, you're not allowed to tell our children what they can and can't say about you. You have to earn their love back, explained Kody. And I realized he didn't call me because he wanted to talk to me. He called me because he doesn't want me talking negatively. Gwendolyn Caraz. Admittedly, Gwendolyn doesn't fully recognize the Kody that parents his 5 kids with wife Robyn Brown. It hurt so much to see him be a good father to others when I didn't really get that much, she acknowledged in a February 2023 YouTube video of watching him with youngest children Solomon Brown and Ariella Brown. And while she's happy they get an active father, she noted, I don't remember coming home from kindergarten or anything and seeing my dad being happy that I ate all my lunch, or that I made a friend at school. That being said, she was still willing to play nice. In a January 2023 YouTube video, she labeled their relationship as very flip-floppy. In person, my dad's sweet to me now, noted Gwendolyn, who invited Kody and Robyn to her and Beatriz Caraz's July 2023 wedding. We had our differences in the past, but we're getting better. And since we're not around each other as much, we can't really be angry with each other as much. But when she tunes into the Sunday night episodes, she added, I do tend to dislike him a little bit. And I just have to remind myself that he's going through a difficult time and it's just hard on everybody and, he's still my dad and he's still kind to me. Michael T. Padrone. One of the few Brown kids who was still close to both Robyn and Kody and Christine and Janelle, Michael T. took on the role of peacekeeper during Kody's 3 divorces. But in the years since, she seems to have resigned from Team Kody, giving her take on the rift months after she and husband Tony Padrone made the move to North Carolina with their 3 children. I think that if he took more accountability in any of his actions, his kids, maybe not all of them, but at least some of them, would reach out, she noted during an October 2024 fan Q&A shared on the Instagram account at Without a Crystal Ball. Instead of blaming the children or blaming how they feel about his relationship with his other wife or blaming the parents or blaming gossip or whatever, if he just said, look, I understand I did blank wrong. I'm sorry. Can we talk about it? I feel like that would go such a long way. As for his stance that he shouldn't need to beg his children to repair their relationship, she wasn't having it. No matter what happens between myself and my kids, I would always sit outside that door, knock, apologize and ask, and just continue to try to do whatever I could to make that relationship stronger, the mom of 3 insisted, before referencing Kody's claim that his former wives had metaphorically stabbed him in the back. I feel like that's what you do as a parent. Sometimes you just have to take the knife in the kidney, get over it, and apologize. Leon Brown. A message worth interrupting their peace. Leon Brown has largely avoided the spotlight since their sister wives' days. But Mary Brown's only child felt compelled to break their social media hiatus to address Kody's recent claim that he'd reached out to all of his kids multiple times and that if they don't have a relationship with him, it's because they're not reciprocating. But Leon insisted there's no missed calls on their cell. There's a ridiculous video of my father circulating where he says he reaches out to his children. They wrote on their Instagram stories in November 2025. Noting they hadn't heard from Kody since Brother Garrison's March 2024 death by suicide, Leon added, Kody blatantly blew me off at Garrison's funeral. He is a liar. He is a joke of a father. That's all. Madison Brush. When it comes to her complicated relationship with her dad, Maddie isn't solely concerned with protecting her heart. I am open to reconciliation and forgiveness and closure, she shared on the November 30th, 2025 episode of the TLC series after welcoming fourth child Amelia in March 2025. But if her father wanted to fully be let into the life she shares with husband Caleb Brush and kids Axel, Evie, Josephine, and Amelia, there would need to be a pattern of consistency. And judging by her scathing October 2025 social media rebuke, she's still waiting. Sharing an inspirational quote to her Instagram stories about carefully deciding what is worth your energy, Maddie explained how she was able to reach that point. As she wrote in a DM to one follower looking for tips, "Your dad saying lies about you for the entire world to hear teaches it to you real quick." Her main issue, she noted on a 2024 episode of her The Authentic Society podcast, was that he doesn't have any respect for boundaries. And you have to play by his rules, and I just don't care to do that.